Well,
just things that make you cringe?
Honestly, just like filming fishing is a nightmare. Like it's truly horrible.
Please catch a fish right now.
Yeah, there's when we filmed 120 Days with David Mangum, he's like quite literally one of the best tarpon guides in the world, and we rented a Phantom camera that for the first time was like a big expense and this whole thing, and we sat in a boat for 7 days without catching a single fish. And we're just like,
you should come steelheading sometime. If you like
I'm
that.
making a film involving muskie fishing now, which is
nice.
Equally horrible, or actually even worse.
Hello, and welcome to Sidechannels, presented by the Flyfish Journal. My name is Jason Rolfe. I'm the editor of the Flyfish Journal and host of the show, along with my good friend Kopi Vojta, our photo editor. Today on the show, we've got filmmaker and producer Travis Rummel. Travis has been involved in making some of the most distinctive fly fishing films of the past 20 years or so. Think Running Down the Man, Red Gold, Damnation. And some would argue he and his old Felt Soul media partner Ben Knight should be credited for more or less inventing the genre of fly fishing film as we know it today. Before we get there though, I wanted to let you know that the summer issue of the Flyfish Journal just dropped, and it's a good one, though I might be a bit biased. We've got Steve Duda in Guyana, Liam Gallagher on the Dean River, Dee Finkel interviews tattoo artist Dan Santoro, Ben Herndon chases Pacific lamprey, and it's all capped off with a photo essay from John O'Winnell. You can pick it up online or at your local fly shop, or better yet, just become a subscriber and we'll send it right to your mailbox. How easy is that? Visit theflyfishjournal.com and hit that subscribe button to become a subscriber today. You know what else is easy? Keeping the bed of my truck organized with my decked truck bed organizer system. Thanks to Decked, I never have to wonder where my gear is. Flybox is an extra tippet, small deco case in the left side drawer. Camp stove and coffee maker, large deco case, same drawer. Net, wading socks, rod, right side drawer, neatly organized. Empty Zinn containers pulling double duty as fly holders, they're in the drawer organizer with the sunscreen. That's right, drawer organizer. I couldn't be happier with my setup. I can get on the road quick, get waitered up, and get on the water ASAP without the hassle of digging around my truck bed for gear. So do it. Get decked. Get after it. You won't regret it. Visit deck.com/flyfish to find the system that's right for you. And Sidechannels is also supported by Patagonia Fly Fishing. Patagonia's commitment to making solid gear that stands up to all the abuse you can throw at it is matched by their dedication to our home planet. They've had some great things brewing recently, including their new Swift Current Expedition waders. Built on exploration, these waders are purpose-made for connecting with wild fish and inspired by the tireless anglers and groups fighting to protect the clean water those fish depend on. Visit patagonia.com/fly-fishing to learn more about the new Swift Current Expedition Series waders and the community of conservationists and environmental advocates that make Patagonia what it is. So, Kopi and I had the good fortune to meet with Travis Rummel at his home outside Denver this spring. Travis and his family were getting ready to take off for a weekend in the mountains. But before he left, we sat down to chat about his beginnings in filmmaking, his creative partnership with Ben Knight, which became Felt Soul Media, and really how he learned to navigate the creative process both with himself and with others. He also told us what he hates to film. He was an incredibly humble guy, given the impact he's had on fly fishing media in the past 20 years, and I think in a lot of ways that makes sense. His work speaks volumes, whether it's 120 Days or Damnation or Eastern Rises, Running Down the Man. These are films that stand up to the test of time and still really speak volumes on an emotional level and on a creative level. in any case, it was a great show. We had a lot of fun chatting with him. So that's enough for me. Let's get to it. What are you guys, what's the family up to this weekend? You said you guys are heading out to...
Oh yeah, my wife is racing in 18 hours of Fruta, like a mountain bike race.
Cool. Oh, cool. 18 hours?
She's on a team of 4, but
okay.
Yeah, it starts at midnight tonight and goes till 6 p.m.
Wild.
Nice. What's that, what's the sort of format of the race? Where is it
It's
at?
all in a state park in Fruta, and I think it's like a 7-mile loop. And it's just however many laps your team can do in 18 hours.
Just nonstop. Do they have set, like one person does a lap and then tags out and the next person goes? And
I think.
Can they just like go till they're...
I think it's whatever strategy you want to employ for it. And I think like a lap's like 45 minutes. So maybe they'll do 2. So then people could sleep at least initially. And then.
And it starts at midnight.
Yeah.
And goes, wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. How long has she been riding mountain bikes?
She's been riding bikes. I don't know. Like she grew up in Colorado and, but like she's gotten more into it maybe in like the last 10 years.
Okay.
And has been racing like the last 4 or 5.
Nice.
Yeah. I had to get an e-bike to keep up.
I was going to ask,
it helps a lot.
What is your sort of mountain biking capacity compared to hers?
Lesser.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm more of a skier than a biker.
Okay.
She's more of a biker than a skier.
Yeah.
And I just like went to school at Colorado College, and all of my friends were very good mountain bikers. And I feel like my entire life I've just been like off the back, just trying not to kill myself.
Just trying to keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah. My wife in the last few years got into ultra running. And, we used to run together a lot. And nowadays it's like, yeah, I'm going out for a 18-mile just like training run today. I'm like, well, I could go and run like 5 of that with you.
Sounds like you need an e-bike.
Yeah. Or that e-bike and just follow her along. But, well, that's nice. That's cool.
That'll be fun.
Are you from this area?
No, I grew up in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
You're from New Jersey? Mm-hmm. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
What, where at in New Jersey?
Pretty close to New York City, like 15 miles from the city.
Oh, really?
Yeah. As always.
Pretty urban then?
It's like the most densely populated county in the U.S., I think, Essex County.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But it was suburban, and it was like kind of like a nice upper middle class neighborhood. Super small, despite like how busy it is there.
Yeah. What'd your folks do?
My dad was in TV journalism, so that's kind of why we were there. But he was a producer at 2020, then producer at 60 Minutes, and then worked at the New York Times and Frontline.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Is he pretty keyed into all the stuff going on with 60 Minutes right now with the producer leaving and
he's pretty keyed into
mess of it?
His computer and iPhone and just the news cycle,
yeah.
Which is kind of tough, honestly. Like it's hard.
Yeah. You got to kind of force yourself to take a break sometimes.
Yeah,
for sure. So growing up, was that something that you were aware of? Did you go to the studio with him or things like that?
Yeah, like we'd go to the office and see it, but like he traveled a lot. So he was a producer for Mike Wallace at 60 Minutes for a long time and was on the road, like always travel based. And then he would get the month of August off and we'd go out west for like a month and camp and fish and kind of do that. So that was like my initial exposure to beyond New Jersey. And then I was always kind of told like the only reason we're in New Jersey is for work. And I was never kind of felt like home. So it was nice to find that here.
So it was your folks that kind of said that to you, like New Jersey isn't really home. Home is out here where we can kind of have adventures or...
No, it wasn't. It was just New Jersey isn't home, and it wasn't necessarily inferred where home might be.
It's kind of a movable feast a little bit. Yeah. What was growing up in New Jersey like?
I mean, I think it's hard to have perspective on like what it was like versus other places. It was just like a nice, super small town. Like went to public schools, but like my class was like 65, so super small. And I kind of like grew up with the kids that you grew up with all through sports and academics, and then kind of got the fuck out.
Yeah.
And then I'd say like most of my friends are still in like the New York area that I grew up with. Like a few have left, but
you still have a lot of connections back there?
Yes and no. Like I kind of will get there for work occasionally, but not regularly. And then just stay in touch with a few friends.
Yeah.
I'd say like my social group is all from Colorado College. Like I'm still like super tight with a lot of my friends, and they're many in Colorado and then many just kind of all around the country.
Where's Colorado College?
It's in Colorado Springs.
So south of Denver?
Yeah.
And you came straight out of high school out here to Colorado for that. What brought you out here? What was the draw?
I mean, we'd come out skiing in like middle school and high school, and like I really liked that, and it was appealing to go someplace where you could actually like ski for real.
Yeah.
After like driving to Vermont for 6.5 hours from New Jersey. And I want to go to a small liberal arts school, and there's not that many outside of the Northeast. So I looked at, like Whitman and Reed and Colorado College, and ended up at CC.
What'd you do there?
Smoked a lot of weed, hung out with friends, skied. I majored in international political economy, and it's not vocational school by any means. It's like a liberal arts, so you're like learning to communicate your thoughts and write well. And what's interesting about Colorado College is you do one class at a time, so it's block plan. You take a class for 3.5 weeks, and then you get Wednesday half day through Sunday off as a block break. And that was like everyone would just get out of Colorado Springs and like go on a raft trip or go mountain biking in the desert or whatever it was. But it was just a really nice way to actually like get to know people by getting out and getting after it.
Yeah.
And there's an odd amount of filmmakers out of CC, like in the outdoor space, like crazy amount. Like
really?
First time I showed a film at Banff, there was like 4 decades of CC filmmakers like in the program. Like it was
really
super crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Who are some of those people?
Renan Ozturk, who's a photographer and North Face athlete. He went to CC. He was my year or maybe 1 year below. The guys at Sender Films, Pete Mortimer, Nick Rosen, Josh Lowell, all went to CC. Daniel Youngie, he was a little older. He won an Academy Award for short doc. He's older. He went to CC. But yeah, there's a long list. The guys that started Sweetgrass went to CC.
Oh, okay. So is that where did you go into it already interested in film? Had you been doing stuff like that prior to college, or is that where?
No, not at all. And I didn't even do film or photography in college.
None at all?
I did a class in Zimbabwe and like got really into taking photographs on that. But then no formal training at CC, and then moved to Telluride, and I was a fishing and rafting guide, and then worked as a photographer at the newspaper for a little while. And that's where I met Ben Knight, who we started Feltzel Media together. Yeah.
So being at Colorado College and studying, what did you say it was? Political and...
Yeah, international political economy.
Yeah, so international political economy.
Economics.
Did you have any ideas of what you thought you might want to do? Or was that just kind of ideas. Like, just jumped into it and figured it out?
Yeah, I had a friend that was like, I moved to Telluride, and an alumni from Colorado College just bought the outfitter, and they're trying to like find guides for fly fishing and rafting. And I was like, well, I've gone on one raft trip, and I learned to fly fish like 2 years ago. It'd be great.
Perfect for the job. Thank you.
It's probably the story for a lot of guides out there.
Yeah, and I didn't really have direction, and Telluride sounded like a nice place to try and figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. What was your introduction to fly fishing then?
I grew up, my grandparents were all in Michigan, so like every summer I'd go to Michigan from like 5 to 15, and like my dad's parents were on the South Fork of the Ausable River, so like a little kind of trout creek with like canoeists coming down all the time, and would just grow up catching crayfish and like spin fishing for trout, but always just really enjoyed that. And then had some friends at CC that would go to like 11 Mile and Deckers on the South Platte, and like, you should come check it out, and basically just borrow gear from friends and learned how to do it.
Yeah. When was this? When you were in college?
I was there from 1997 to 2001.
So you become a raft guide and a fly fishing guide. Where were you guiding at? Where were you guiding out of?
So it's all just walk and wade trips out of Telluride, and there's 2 drainages, the San Miguel, which like the headwaters is in Telluride, and then up over Lizard Head Pass to the Dolores River drainage.
Oh, okay.
And then occasionally further afield, like the Uncompahgre in Montrose or like Gunnison, and like Gunny Gorge, Black Canyon.
Yeah. What was what are your memories of guiding back then? Any good
It was just so
horror
fun.
stories?
No, I mean, it was just so nice, like being outside every day, no matter like what the weather is. And like the San Miguel is a non-dammed freestone river, like high gradient. It's not the best fishery, but it's just super beautiful freestone river. And would go from like 2200 CFS to like 200 CFS in probably 6 weeks. And it wasn't a technical fishery. So like, as a guide, like we're basically like just taking never evers, mostly from Texas, to, like with a very big dry dropper, and catching somewhat dumb fish in pocket water.
Yeah. How long did you do that?
I did it for 5 seasons.
Oh, that's not bad. In the off seasons, were you just skiing?
It varied. Like it's like any mountain town, you just kind of have like an assortment of jobs, and just like really appreciate having an off season, like where you like go travel or go to the desert or like whatever it is. Like I really liked that lifestyle. I tried living in Seattle one year. Didn't work out very well.
Why not?
Because of the weather.
Well, I grew up going out, like I have family there. So like we'd go in August and like see how good it can be.
Like the best month of the year.
And I
in Seattle.
moved there in October and then left in May. So it was.
Where'd you live in Seattle?
Belltown and then Queen Anne.
Okay. Nice.
And that was like
nice parts of Seattle.
2003.
Okay.
It's a little while ago.
Yeah. What brought you up there?
The girl I was dating went to grad school there, and we'd been living in Telluride and kind of was ready to see what else was out there.
Yeah. Did you leave because the relationship ended, or because Seattle was just not your place, or?
Yes.
Both?
Yes.
No, just Seattle wasn't my place, and I was actually really wanting to make films, and I worked as like an assistant editor for a little bit there, and was like ready to like try harder.
So by that point, you had picked up a camera.
Yeah. So in Telluride, I worked as a photographer, and Ben Knight was the photo editor at the paper. So I just like work his 1 or 2 off days a week. But then like we're good friends, and Telluride really exposed me to the Mountain Film Festival, which was like very impactful, and was kind of like grew up with my dad in TV journalism. But it was always like pretty direct and like exposition and not a lot of emotion in the delivery of like those shows. And Mountain Film was kind of the combination of like emotive and exposition. And like you could just tell like people like were super passionate about the work they were doing, and it was like very contagious. And I was like, oh wow, like I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
I ended up going to teach English in China in 2003 and bought a camera, and I was going to meet Ben in Mongolia, and we were going to make a film about taimen. So like had reached out to the Vermilions, like this, like pretty early on in their Mongolia stuff, and moved to China. Was there for 6 weeks, and it was really shitty, like just like crazy pollution, like I'd never experienced, like no definition in the sky.
You were in a city then?
I was in Xi'an, which is like kind of like the St. Louis of China. Like it was super interesting, and like I enjoyed it, but like we only got like 1 day off a week, and you couldn't really travel because like you had 1 day off, and then SARS broke out. It's like the original coronavirus.
Yeah.
And it just was like, oh, well, maybe this isn't for us and we should move back to Telluride. And then had bought this DVX 100 and some audio gear, and then ended up having it. So then Ben and I were like, oh, let's just go film in the backyard. And we made a film called The Hatch, which was about the salmon fly hatch and some water rights issues around the Gunnison drainage in the Black Canyon.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you go to China with Ben?
No, I went with my girlfriend at the time.
Oh, okay.
And Ben was going to meet me in Mongolia after the 6 months contract.
But you guys never went to Mongolia.
No. And that's actually like I like that time in Mongolia. It would have been such an incredible time to be there. It was like pre kind of gold rush with the Chinese, and pretty unexplored, untamed, and raw.
Yeah. Was the, I'm curious about your English teaching experience, just because I did the same thing in Ukraine in like 2006 or 7. But was the school just kind of like one of those places where they bring you out and they just kind of throw you into it and not a ton of support? Like,
yeah.
What was...
Yeah, it was, I mean, it's all like kind of a blur now, because it ended up only being 6 weeks, but like I still have like pretty vivid memories. I think I could still order like 1 beer and pork in Chinese. That's like the only Mandarin I know.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because it was kids and then it was adults, and like you could kind of just shape the curriculum however you wanted. And it was interesting.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I really liked my experience teaching English in Ukraine, but it was also, it had its difficulties. There was a bit of culture shock for sure. But it was also a really special time. So, so the camera, communicating with you about this, I was also communicating with Ben, because I didn't realize he's in North Carolina or South Carolina now.
He's on like the very extreme eastern outer banks of North Carolina now, in Ocracoke.
But he was he was emailing a bit and suggesting I ask you about some things. But I think he mentioned that it was your folks that got you guys sort of your first camera. Yeah,
so I had just like started. I went to school at a really good time for the stock market from 1997 to 2001. So I think I had like $4,000 left in my college account that paid for me to go to Colorado College. So I used that to buy this Panasonic DVX 100 camera.
What, how did you meet Ben? Tell us a little bit more about like you guys kind of becoming friends.
Yeah. So Ben, there's 2 papers in Telluride, which is a small town. I think population's 2,000. So it's just bizarre that there's 2 daily newspapers.
You guys have some Anchorman type wars with the competing paper.
Yeah, it was just like, it was pretty comical. Ben was at the good paper, the Telluride Daily Planet, and like so every day there was like a quote of the day. So like this is like obviously pre-internet, and like there'd be like a little thumbnail of like a local person and then just some random quote, and like that was your job, and you had to go out and find that. And then there'd be like the big cover photo, and then like any other like event in the town, and like Ben's photography was just so good.
Yeah.
So I was definitely just psyched to meet him, and then went in one day and was like, well, I'd love to be a photographer here. And had like a friend of a friend introduce us, and had like really no portfolio or really no technical knowledge of photography, but just enjoyed it. And he ended up hiring me to cover his 1 to 2 days off a week.
Uh-huh.
And then we just kind of got to know each other through working at the newspaper.
Mm-hmm. What was it about the two of you, I guess, is what I'm wondering, that you think has now made it that you've had this working relationship for like over 20 years now?
Yeah.
What do you think was sort of that original connection for the two of you?
I don't know if it was original. I think it actually like developed over time, and like we had a lot of overlap in the beginning, and then like towards now, or like towards the end, like it was like very clear what our skill sets were, and we were very complementary. We were kind of like creative enough to meet in the middle, and I was more like of a producer and like could get shit done and figure it out on the front end, and he would go OCD and like edit like he would go through everything and like just bleed over edits, and like in a way that I had like zero patience to do. So like if you look at like the spectrum of what it takes to create films, like we kind of could cover the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Were there, go ahead.
I've seen you guys both with cameras, and in that regard, do you kind of tag in and tag out like when necessary in terms of, who's filming and or who's not?
Yeah. I mean, I think Ben's would be like the primary shooter. Like I feel like he's like a better DP than I am. But I really enjoy it. And, in the beginning, it was just like we wanted to frame everything like a still photograph and like really think about composition and not just kind of like spray and pray. Like we'd never like, our style isn't to like shoot a lot. It's to just like shoot what we think matters.
Yeah.
And have like a pretty, like have like a point of view and like the coverage we're trying to get. So yeah, like I think we have enough overlap that it worked really well, and then enough specialization that we could like fill in the gaps for the other person.
Yeah. And the hatch was kind of the first project that you guys did together. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you tell us? Yeah. Tell us about the hatch. I've heard some little story from Ben,
or at least the aerial photography.
Yeah. I mean, we thought we were going to Mongolia, and then I moved back to Telluride, and like we were looking for a project that would be kind of worthy of mountain film. And, the Black Canyon has this legendary stonefly hatch in it. And it's also just a really striking place. And at the time it was a national monument, I don't even know if it was a monument. That might have happened in like 2001. It might have just become a national monument. Mm-hmm. But it's this place that like, if you live in Colorado, you don't see it. It's a canyon. It's like the steepest, deepest, narrowest canyon in North America. And being a fishing guide and having friends that guided in the Gunny Gorge, and I guided there a little bit. The Gunny Gorge is a section that you can float for 2 nights below the national park now, of the Black Canyon. And the Gunny Gorge is great. It's like incredible floating. It gets busy, but the stonefly hatch happens usually like 3rd week of June. But like the gem really is the upper section of the national park, and that is like kayakable by like elite kayakers. There's like waterfalls and sieves and a lot of poison ivy. But you can hike into the national park, and it's just this like stunning place. And then to be there when the stonefly hatch is happening is like incredibly magical.
Absolutely amazing. I love those things.
Yeah. So like, and there was some like weird water rights the Gunnison was one of the only drainages on the western slope that wasn't diverted to the Front Range. So we were interested in helping to maintain that status. So we just went and filmed ourselves fishing down there and hiked into like all the different places in the national park, floated the Gunny Gorge. We shot it over 2 summers, and I think the first session we ever shot, we weren't even rolling audio on the camera because we didn't know what we were doing. And it was like the best, like some of the best stuff we shot, and it's just like silent.
Oh, no.
But we came of age at this like perfect time in filmmaking history, literally. Like we were able to buy this camera for like $3,000 that was shot 24p in standard definition, but it just looked filmic and it was digital. And then we could do Final Cut Pro. I think it was like 4 or something on a Mac, and we could look up on the internet any questions we had to like figure it out on our own. So it's all, we just kind of learned it by doing it and then just being invested. And it was always like it was a part-time thing. We made the film The Hatch over 2 summers, and then we went and made a film called Running Down the Man in Baja with our friend Frank Smethurst, who was a guide in Telluride, about fishing for roosterfish. And those were just kind of like, it was like a fun side project. And then in 2007, we decided to make a film now called Red Gold about the proposed pebble mine in Alaska. And that's when we both were able to go kind of full time into it.
Yeah. What were the examples at that time that you guys had that you were sort of working from, whether they were fly fishing films or non-fly fishing films? Are there any that kind of stood out to you as like, you know, the thing you were aiming for, or work, you know, from certain people that you were aiming for a little bit?
I mean, I'm sure there are specific examples, but it truly was just like the mountain film vibe of like, just like really caring about what you're doing. And there really weren't fly fishing films. And like, that was also appealing. It was like a kind of an unknown genre, and it felt like there was like storytelling to be done there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you guys, I think it's been said lots of places, but you know, between Running Down the Man and a couple of those other ones, a couple of the other early films, that was kind of the beginning of sort of this new genre of fly fishing film, I think. Is that something you were aware of at the time or thinking about at the time?
Yeah.
Pretty
there weren't really other fly fishing films, and I think Tom By had made Feeding Time, which is debatable if you could call it a film or not. But his heart was in the right place, and just lacked some execution.
Yeah.
But yeah, there really just, it wasn't there. And it just, you know, like grew up like watching like, you know, Warren Miller and then TGR in college. And like, there was like this whole thing in other sports, and it was just like, wow, like fly fishing doesn't have this.
Yeah. I think especially with Running Down the Man, you know, there's definitely that influence there a little bit of the ski films or skate films of the time. It seems like just, it has that feel, it has that vibe. Definitely different than like the old VHS tapes of Gary Borger talking about how to catch more trout that I
it's always like, even now, like, like, of course, like fishing is compelling and interesting in itself, but it's just like interesting people. And like Frank was just such a character, and like Running Down the Man is just a reflection of his personality. Really.
Yeah. When did you first meet Frank?
He had been, and he guided in Telluride in the same outfitter, Telluride Outside.
Mm-hmm.
And he was older and had been there and was established, and became a good friend. Like I rented his house from him one year, and he would always talk about Baja and roosterfish, and like we shot some other stuff for this like mothership operation that some guy from Denver started, and we would go down with Frank, and like we went to Baja maybe 3 or 4 times before we did Running Down the Man, and like we'd like get to the spot finally after like going up from like Baja to Mag Bay or something, and like just about to start fishing, and this guy Mark would be like, no, we can't, we got to move, we can't do it. And like every time it was just like so close to like happening, and then it never would. And it was nice to leave that behind and just go to Baja with Frank and like kind of do the beach program.
What? So why was he saying, no, we can't do it?
He was just like kind of a control freak, and like anytime Frank would like take the boat, he'd get nervous, and like anytime we'd like get to the place, he would just shut it down, and it was just a total nightmare.
That's awesome. What was the I'm curious to hear more just about the Running Down the Man experience, the filming of it and everything.
Yeah. I mean, we made the hatch and I don't know, we didn't think that much of it. Like we're just like hoping to get into mountain film, and it got in and it did well. And then it got into Banff and, like did well for our first film effort. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like what's another like bite-sized project we could do on like in our spare time? Because we both had other jobs and didn't really know what we were doing. And we had gotten, I think we raised $5,000 or $3,000 to do the hatch from Scott Fly Rods, because they're based out of Montrose and very close to like Telluride. And I can tell a quick story just jumping back to the aerial stuff, because we ended up getting a fine from the BLM, I think for $1,500 or $2,000. So like all of our Scott money went towards that.
Oh no.
And
what was the
I don't
fine
think,
for?
well, actually, I think it was because we had like a commercial film that we didn't get a permit for, and we had no commercial intent. We didn't know what we were doing, literally. And, then it showed at these film festivals, and then we got a fine for it.
Yeah.
But that actually does not connect to the aerial stuff. But for the aerial stuff, it was pretty compelling because like we didn't know what we were doing, and we shot in the canyon twice. Once with like a Cessna 185, where we just literally taped the DVX 100 to like the wing strut and then like flew through the canyon. And then the next summer there was Glider Bob, this guy in Telluride who had this like really insane German self-powered glider. So it had like a propeller to take off, then it would retract in the air.
It was like one person
Yeah.
glider.
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, had two people. So they're like the pilot in the front and the passenger in the back. And then that one was a little more pro. There was actually like a mounting point on the wing that you could strap your camera to, which we did. And then we flew like below the canyon rim and the glider. And it was just so incredible. Like I got to do that with them.
Yeah.
You were the passenger on that.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Ben was talking about like flying below the rim and having the engine of the guider turned off.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just like
Silent.
gliding silent. And I think in his email he said you're just crossing your fingers that the engine turns back on.
Yeah. I mean, you can only descend so much on a glider.
Yeah. Oh, what was I going to ask?
Well, there was, and then for running down the man, we hired the local pest controller to fly in an ultralight glider. And it was super cool, but also terrifying because like I was just in the back of this like open ultralight filming handheld, like flying on the coast of Baja, and was like very pleased to land and be done with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. Like, just the fact that you guys at that time, I mean, obviously there's no drones and, the fact that you guys really jumped into it so wholeheartedly. And, I mean, you're making your first film and you're renting Cessnas and gliders and you're aiming for mountain film in Banff and getting into mountain film in Banff with your first film. That seems pretty significant to me for you guys just minds blown all the time.
Well, it was just confirmation that like we were like on the right track. And, and like there wasn't really a model to follow. So like that just felt like the way to do it. And it kind of confirmed that we were doing it right.
We'll get back to Travis in a minute, but before we do, I want to tell you about the new Deco case colors from Decked. Deco cases are solidly built, weatherproof, go-anywhere gear containers, and they come in a variety of sizes and configurations that allow maximum versatility for whatever ways you can dream up to utilize them. You can get them with a variety of trays and dividers, as well as foam inserts that can be customized for carrying everything from camera gear to power tools. With a handful of new colors, including Ranger Green, Blaze Orange, and Cool Gray, you can match the case to its intended use. Ranger Green for that low-profile blending in look, or Blaze Orange for that can't miss it, won't forget it at the campsite, this stuff is important look. Deco cases are a great way to get in on what Decked has cooking for you non-truck owners as well. And like the truck bed organizers, they're made in the USA and shipping is always free. Visit decked.com/flyfish to learn more, and then get out there, get decked, and get after it. Well, what came after those then? It seems like those first few projects were all pretty either fly fishing focused or conservation focused, or some mix of that. Were there other things that you were thinking of doing back then too, or did that kind of remain? No, that was kind of
it. I think just having been a guide and like being like very into fly fishing at the time, and like it being this kind of unexplored genre, just felt like, oh, like there's like room here, and we can probably like raise money to continue to do it, because there's not a lot of other options for these brands.
Yeah.
But it was also just kind of like a fun thing to do. And it wasn't like we weren't needing to make money off of it, because we didn't really care about money, and we had other low paying jobs that check that box, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, so that I lived in Telluride from 2001 to 2005. We released The Hatch in 2005. I moved to New York. I moved back home to New Jersey. Worked in New York City. I was an assistant in fashion photography. I was like a DIT. So like it was like when digital was just starting to happen commercially. So like I was running these like medium format camera systems on like sets in New York. And sitting between like the photographer and like the creative director for whatever brand campaign they were shooting. And it was like kind of a good education just to like see how like people communicate creativity, and also just like learning to work freelance and like kind of gaining the confidence of, oh, like this is kind of how this all works. And like, people are getting hired because they have a vision. And, so lived in New York for a couple of years, from 2005 to 2007, and then had heard about the Pebble Mine in Alaska. I think we showed Running Down the Man at like a Patagonia store event somewhere. And then Tim Bristol, who was kind of like leading the charge from like Trout Unlimited. He started Trout Unlimited in Alaska to help fight Pebble. And he got up and talked about it. And I was like, oh, wow, like that feels like a pretty compelling film idea. And then started just talking to him about that. And I think our goal was to raise like $100,000, which was a shitload of money for us at the time. I think our Running Down the Man budget was like $12,000, which felt like a lot or something. And then we successfully raised about half, and then decided to go up and do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's when I kind of moved back to Colorado and went full time for Feltzel Media. And Ben and I went up to Alaska, like not really knowing what we were getting into. Wow.
So that was essentially, that was kind of the beginning of Felt Salt Media, like with Red Gold.
Yeah, as like actually vocation.
Thing. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Red Gold. It's been a long time since I've seen Red Gold.
Me too.
And but what is your memories of doing that, I guess, but also like, do you have a sense of, how that sort of put that story, or maybe made that story a little more present in sort of the cultural consciousness, or at least in the, conservation fly fishing consciousness?
Yeah. I mean, I think at the time, like I didn't really even know like what Bristol Bay was. Like I just kind of like heard this compelling, explanation of this huge mine that was going to go in and like the worst possible place in Alaska and affecting salmon. And it's like, oh, there's like a lot of fishing lodges there. Like there's like this fly fishing conservation component. Like it sounds cool. Pretty naive. But Ben and I just like went up, and like we had talked to Tim Bristol at Trout Unlimited Alaska. And then he was kind enough, like he had a staffer named Lauren Oakes that came out with us, who had kind of been working with all these different stakeholders of subsistence users, commercial fishermen, and then sport fishing. And we originally came at it from like the lens of fly fishing and conservation. And it ended up being maybe like the least compelling kind of argument against this proposed mine. Once we got up and like experienced the landscape and the people there. But Red Gold, like we just had a really good timing. Like it wasn't really a known issue outside of the state of Alaska. the mining people were still like open to like being interviewed, and like they gave us great access. They flew us around the mine site in a helicopter. We interviewed the CEO. We interviewed like the COO, their geologists. Like we had like really good access.
Yeah.
And then we also met these incredible commercial fishermen, subsistence, indigenous people, and then sport fishing people. So we kind of got like this like really holistic look at these various people that all had very different views of what the future of Bristol Bay should look like.
Yeah. When you like going into that, did you have, I mean, it's maybe I know the answer to this, but did you have an idea of what the story would be with that, or is that something that came together as you worked on it and sort of developed in sort of the post-production phase?
No, we had no idea like what the story was. We had never been there. We had never met these people, and we didn't know the landscape. We didn't know like the significance of the salmon run, or like we heard like the numbers of the deposit. It's like the largest gold and copper discovery ever made in North America.
Yeah.
So we just had to learn a lot, and then also like we just went up there for 70 days and like moved through the whole landscape, and like had an idea of like, oh, like we'll follow the fish from saltwater to their spawning grounds in the headwaters. That takes us to the mine. Mm-hmm. So we can kind of like use the geography as a thread for the structure of the film, and we'll just meet the people that the salmon encounter along the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was it at that point, do you feel like you and Ben had sort of you'd figured out your roles as a team, or do you feel like you were still kind of learning during that one?
I think we're still learning. Like we almost got in a fight outside of the kitchen cannery, or the cannery of the kitchen, because like Ben was really hungry and I wanted to like keep working. And so there's like, you learn a lot about somebody like when you're, you know, moving through Bristol Bay for 70 days and like sleeping on floors, or like in the cannery or on a boat or wherever it might be. And like, it was like super scrappy. Like we didn't know where we'd sleep. We'd just like go sleep in the boatyard, or like hitch a ride on somebody's boat out to Nushagak Point and like stay in these shacks with them. And like, it was just like an embed situation. And it was super cool.
Yeah. It was basically just you and Ben up there.
And Lauren Oakes was there too, from Trout Unlimited.
Okay.
Yeah. So the three of us, and I mean, we kind of like technically knew our roles. Like I would interview people, and like he would film most of the time, and then I'd film when he didn't, or like we would go, we'd each go film like separately and then come back and meet, depending on like just what it demanded.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What else do you guys argue about? Do you think maybe the most, like either creatively or just between your two different personalities?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not like partners anymore. So like we're just older and like kind of have different demands and, you know, different goals, I guess. And it's like, we worked together for like 18 years. And it's just a lot to like be in a partnership with somebody. It's like a marriage. And like, if you don't have like the same goals, it's hard to like, get to there. And Ben he's like methodical and like so OCD in a good way, but also in a paralyzing way, where he will like, if he edits something, like there's no like rough cut. It's like basically like the final cut. So there's not a lot of room to like contribute, because it kind of goes in this like pain cave black box, and then comes out with this something that's like pretty magical.
Locks himself in, and
but that like, it kind of evolved into that, like where in the beginning, like we would sit together, like trying to figure out final cut and like what are the edits, and like take turns, and then it just became more clear that he had much more patience and skill in editing than I did, and I was much better of like going out and like finding the story and like getting us to do it. And he just, we kind of like started making a lot of fly fishing films, and I think he was ready not to make fly fishing films. And like it was, and honestly, like I am somewhat too. Like you kind of get like, oh, like you guys are the fly fishing guys. Like Yeti's like, cool. Like here's the fly fishing film to make. And I'm like, oh, like, okay.
Can we do something else?
Yeah. And we have done other stuff too, but you do get pigeonholed a little bit. And I think that was hard for both of us on some levels.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at what point were you able to, what do you think is the first project that really stood out for you as like the non-fly fishing project that was a chance to stretch your legs a little bit and explore a different topic, different subject, different people?
Honestly, Red Gold, like that, we kind of went into that thinking it was a fly fishing project, and like we shot fly fishing, but it really wasn't like the meat and like heart of the film.
Yeah.
So like that was a great way to like kind of get in thinking you know what you're doing, and then also like figure out like, oh wow, like there's so much more meat to this story than we originally thought there was, and be able to explore that in a compelling way.
Yeah. Yeah. How about after that? What are some projects that kind of stand out for you personally?
Well, we sold Red Gold to Frontline, so then we went back to Bristol Bay and spent like a whole nother season filming, and it was like a lot more about like the regulatory process and like permitting and science. So like we kind of spent a lot of time in Bristol Bay around the Pebble project and like really learning about it. After Red Gold, we went to Kamchatka and made a fly fishing film called Eastern Rises, which was with Frank again, and then a good friend that we met while filming Red Gold named Ryan Peterson, who was a guide in Alaska guy, and he guided in Kamchatka for the fly shop and got us to come over for that. And that like Kamchatka is still like, if I think of like a place that I would like to go back, it's always Kamchatka.
Have you been back there since then?
Yeah, I got to go in 2017 for a Yeti project on Steelhead there.
Okay. Yeah, I remember with Eastern Rises, I worked at a fly shop in Seattle, and we always had a TV going with films, and Eastern Rises was one that was basically on loop. I watched that so many times, but it was so good. Frank is such a character, of course. But I think also, that film seemed to me like one that really, it stood out to me because of the fishing was great, very interesting, but the way that you guys are able to just work in the character, and the, just a little bit more heart, I guess, with, Frank and the sort of Russian counterparts that were out there. I think it's a great film. It's so fun to watch.
It's just fun. Like it's kind of nice not to have it be like super heavy with like conservation or like whatever it needs or wants to be. Like this was just like a fun project, and like we're all just like, everyone's like very joyful to get to be in that place, and it's contagious.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving forward then, how did Felt Soul sort of keep growing and moving after those films? Because you guys, I mean, you did so many different things. Thinking of like 120 Days, the
next big
film.
The next big one was Damnation.
Yeah.
Which was like a 3-year project for us, and that came from Eastern Rises. Like we showed it at the Wild and Scenic Film Festival and like outside Sacramento. And Yvon Chouinard was there, and he was like, he really liked it. Like Patagonia was like a sponsor, and Yvon's a big fly fisherman, and we met him backstage, and his son-in-law Matt Stecker was there, and they're like, wow, like we really love that film, like would you guys be interested in making a film about dams and dam removal? Because it was like like Condit and Elwha were all about to come down, so it was like a timely thing. And Ben and I were like, I don't think so. That seems really hard. Yeah. Like how could you make a compelling film about inanimate objects blocking rivers?
Oh really? That's kind of how you initially thought about it? It was just like,
yeah, like how could you actually do this in a compelling way?
Yeah.
And we were right. It was really hard. It took us 2 years longer than we thought it would. And like it was kind of similar to Red Gold, where you just kind of like, ultimately we said yes. We're like, oh, we probably shouldn't say no to Yvon.
Probably
like,
should do this.
Like it's probably like kind of like good company to keep. And and shit will blow up. So that helps too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, we live in Colorado and like, you know, we fish tailwaters without thinking about it. And, so it was a huge education again of like, just like committing to the project. And then like, we just rented a van from a friend and then just drove around for 3 months and like went, you know, we had these like bookends of Condit and Elwha, and then going out east to the Penobscot where dams had been removed, and we had some structure to work with. And then we just had to like make it human and relatable and compelling through human stories about inanimate objects.
How did that process come together? How did you find the people that sort of ended up being the human stories? I'm thinking of, I can't remember anybody's names, but there's obviously the guy that did the protest painting on the Elwha. Michael.
We saw like we were just out at the Elwha and saw a magazine with this like little sidebar with like a crack on the Elwha Dam, and then like credited to his photo and like a little story about painting the crack. And we're like, whoa, like that sounds fun and interesting, and like we should probably go meet this guy.
Yeah.
So we went to his like weed farm in Humboldt and interviewed him.
And then there was also, I remember, and I met this guy, the guy that stood up at like a town hall meeting of some sort and basically said like,
Jim, I'm blanking his last name, but he worked for the Army Corps of Engineers and was retired. And then that was about the Snake River dams.
Yeah. And essentially saying like, these dams are pointless.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're just out there in it, talking to people. Like we went to like congressional rallies for the Republicans in Tri-Cities and people that like really want to save the dams. And like, it's all just, we're just trying to find the human stories around it to like, and not have it be like completely one-sided. Like, I don't think a film's ever interesting if like, it's not gray. Like we wanted to make it as gray as we could, even though like, obviously we're making a film for Patagonia about dam removal.
Yeah. 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 Did you ever go to your dad when you're working on stories like this for advice? Was he a resource for you?
He would give me advice. I don't necessarily go to him for it. But I always wanted, I don't know, like he always worked for these like large corporations and like had a lot of structure and like his lane. And we always wanted to be like so much more like human and emotional. So it wasn't necessarily like the same goals.
Yeah. 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 That's funny. What are you up to nowadays? You and Ben, so Felt Soul is it technically no more? Is it,
I mean, it's our
like
calling card still. Like we
yeah.
created it and like have a whole body of work to show for it.
Yeah.
And like we're still good friends, but Ben just wants to like focus on one project at a time, and I like to have things going on, and he moved pretty much as far away as you can move in the lower 48.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm making films and do a lot of work still with Patagonia and Yeti, and I'm honestly like a pretty lazy business person where I just have these relationships and like get a call and like kind of get presented with work and can say yes or no and try to say yes if it feels good.
Yeah. What kind of things are you excited to be doing nowadays?
I did a really interesting campaign for Yeti on like exceptional use cases of their coolers last year. That didn't really involve fly fishing. And they're going to be released next year for their 20th anniversary. But it was very wide-ranging uses of Yetis.
Can you divulge any of them, or is there any like NDA?
Yeah, I don't know if there's an NDA. I didn't sign anything. They're not released yet, but they will be. But like the most impactful one personally was like filming a liver transplant, where I saw a woman in the ICU with jaundice, like fully yellow. Flew with the surgeon in a private jet to Omaha to get the liver from the donor body. Whoa. Filmed the surgery and then the recovery.
And so a cooler was used to transport
deliver.
And there's no second takes in a story like that, is there?
No. And then another one was like a young mom taking breast milk to her infant in the NICU. Another was the Red Bull F1 team at the Silverstone Grand Prix. An equestrian event in Georgia with like Olympian equestrian people.
Cool.
Another was throwing coolers out of a beaver on Kodiak Island to restock a hunting camp. Oars packing for the Grand Canyon. I'm going to go to Metallica and film. And when I come to Denver, but I'm going to go scout in Philadelphia coming up. But yeah, just it's kind of like only how like Yeti could do it. It's just like they like touch so many different things, and this is even outside of their normal reach.
Yeah.
We stopped at a gas station on the way here, and Jason was inside, and this kind of big dumpster type truck pulled up, and I saw on the side somebody had wrote, I think it was like, it wasn't full, but it was used to transport metal, because someone had written on the side of it like heavy metal. And on the very back, someone had, or no, I'm sorry, it said metal only on the side. And on the very back, it said metal only 2. Someone had written heavy above it, like just in scratched white, not paint, but marker or something. I was like, okay, I got to get a picture of this. But.
Well, I am wondering, obviously you have a work life that allows you to be very creative. I imagine scratches a lot of that creative itch, but are there, I see film cameras around us here in your office. What are your other sort of creative outlets? Do you have to scratch that itch outside of filmmaking, or do you try to?
I have really nice still photography stuff to take pictures of my kids. Like I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I'm also just a hobbyist. Like I love being outside. I am an archery elk hunter. We do multi-day raft trips as a family since my youngest was like 2.5.
Where at?
We did Deso Gray on the Green, then we did Gates of Lador, then the Yampa, then the Maine Salmon.
Get any permits this year?
No, none this year. This might not be our year. But yeah, I've been very fortunate with the permit gods up until this season.
Yeah.
Backcountry skier, downhill skier, and gardener, baker. Like I just really like doing stuff.
Yeah. Keep them busy.
Yeah. And it works well because I don't necessarily have a lot of structure in my day-to-day work life unless I'm like on a project and like grinding, and that usually means I'm gone, and then I just like when you're gone you just work the entire time and then come back and can kind of recharge and piddle around in the greenhouse.
Yeah. Are there projects out there that you haven't done that you would like to do, that you sort of dream of doing? No,
I'm actually horrible at that. And Ben and I both were like, we never had like our like
big
laundry
ideas.
list of like stuff we need to do. It was always like, just stay engaged and honestly just take on projects you care about, because it like ends up being your entire life.
Yeah.
And I think that our success came from truly caring about what we did and like falling in love with the characters we're profiling. And like, that's like contagious for an audience, and kind of putting yourself in the audience shoes of like, why does somebody care about this? Like, why are they going to watch this? And we actually never grew. Like we were always just 2 people, and like we would buy our equipment and work out of our houses and like have like little to no overhead. And that allowed us a lot of flexibility of like not having to like feed this machine. Like we could say yes or no, like if we actually wanted to do it or not.
Yeah. Do you have any best memories of film projects
or worst memories,
or worst,
like in terms of like the most disastrous stuff that has happened along the way?
Well,
just things that make you cringe.
Honestly, just like filming fishing is a nightmare. Like it's like it's truly horrible.
Please
like
catch a fish right now.
Yeah, like when we filmed 120 days with David Mangum, he's like quite literally one of the best tarpon guides in the world. And we rented a phantom camera that for the first time was like a big expense and like this whole thing. And we sat in a boat for 7 days without catching a single fish. And we're just like,
you should come steelheading sometime. If you like
I'm
that.
making a film involving muskie fishing now, which is equally horrible, or actually even worse. But yeah, just, I don't know. Like I say, like the only thing worse than bad fishing is filming bad fishing. And like, it's still like a privilege to like be out there doing it, but it really does suck. Just like stuff you can't control. Like it's not easy being always having to be ready.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are the sort of standout good moments from this last 20 plus years of making films? Do you have any?
Yeah. I mean, it's like a total privilege to get to go to the places I get to go. Mm-hmm. And the people, like you show up and it's just like immediate access and like you're brought into the family. It makes it hard to like want to travel because you're just like, I don't want to be a fucking tourist. Like I like want to go and like have an objective and like get this special treatment of like insider access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I can see how it would be hard to kind of only get little blips of that here and there and then have to finish that and go do something else and kind of have to rebuild that each time. Does it feel like?
As far as like the projects or?
Well, like you're saying, like getting that access and you know, building a I mean, if you're in Alaska for 3 or 4 or 7 months and you kind of built these relationships and then you finish and it's time to go. And I imagine the sort of the come down from that is probably intense.
It's not necessarily that. It's just hard to communicate it to like my family of like, what was this like experience like? And like the benefit is like, you can be like, here, watch this film whenever it's done. Like you'll kind of understand, but like the immediacy is very hard to communicate because it's like often like very intense experiences that you just kind of like internalize. And like, I'm not like a super reflective person. I don't think back a lot in the past. So it's actually nice to like sit down and like be like, oh, what was that guy's name in Damnation that's up at the town hall? Or like, and revisit it mentally. Cause I feel like I'm kind of like always looking to the future of like, what's the next project and what's happening, you know, tomorrow. So it is nice to like, be like, wow, we've made a lot of fly fishing films. We didn't even talk a lot about a lot of them.
Yeah.
But there's, I don't know. It's really the people and the places is like what's so addicting, and it's really hard to imagine doing something different.
Yeah. Well, and one fly fishing film, I forget the title of it, but the one about Thomas McGuane and those guys and their sort of history down there in Key West.
Yeah, so that one I was a producer on with Scott Ballou. So Scott Ballou directed it. And he was the head of content at Yeti, and we collaborated on a lot of projects with him, some directly. Like we did one on Sandlot Baseball with him direct. And then a lot, he would just be like, hey, you want to go to fish with the king of Bhutan? I'm like, okay. But All That's Sacred is the film you're talking about with Tom McGuane and Jimmy Buffett. And assorted others about Key West in like the early 70s. And that was all kind of structured around this film called Tarpon, which I think a lot of people, if you've been in fly fishing and fly fishing media, like that probably was the model that we didn't know existed, that we were aiming for when we started making fly fishing films. And this French verite filmmaker and his brother-in-law were kind of Guy, who was his brother-in-law, was close friends with Tom McGuane in Key West. And they're like, oh, like this is like an interesting subculture. Like, why don't we make a film about these like artists, authors, poets, hedonists that are out here tarpon fishing with fly rods. And so they came and made this film called Tarpon, and it's like this like incredible kind of taste of like what that place was like at that time. And there's not a lot of, it's all verite. So there's not like sit down interviews. You don't really know who these people are, where they're coming from, what their backstories are. And it was
the original film
Tarpon. But Jimmy Buffett did the soundtrack, and Tom McGuane and Guy are out fishing. Tom said he had the only flats boat in Key West at the time.
Yeah.
So it's just like this time and place that you'll never get back. And it became kind of this tapestry that Jimmy Buffett and Tom McGuane and Jim Harrison all pulled from for like almost the rest of their careers, of like this time and place and feeling. So we got to spend time with them, and it was like really it was like the last possible window we had with these guys. Like Guy died after we spent time with him. Jimmy died the day we premiered it at the Telluride Film Festival, which is so crazy. And Tom McGuane's the last man standing.
Yeah. It was a great film, and it's one of those that I'm really glad that you guys and that Scott, I'm really glad that you guys did it and were able to talk to those guys. And you even talked to that filmmaker's daughter.
Diana.
Diana. Yeah.
So that they just had that film in their family, and like there was like kind of like bootleg copies, and like friends of friends would like give you a burnt DVD like 10 years ago or whatever. But it was very fortunate they kind of like bought into the vision and like collaborated with us on it and allowed us to get the original film, rescan it at 4K and restore it, and then have it within our edit.
What other projects have you done with Scott? Has he done other fly fishing related things?
No.
I know he does music nowadays, right?
Yeah, he left Yeti now, and he's at Tacovas as like a creative VP, I think, but he's a musician. I mean, he was a running back on the University of Texas national championship team. Like,
really? Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he's an interesting.
He's done some
guy
stuff.
That's
cool.
He's very compelling.
Yeah.
But he ran content at Yeti for, I don't know, like 10 years or something, and we just did a lot of films where we had a great relationship, and he trusted us, and he'd be like, "Hey, like, do you want to go to the Northwest Territories with the Eastmans and film a doll sheep hunt and make a film?" I'm like, okay, yeah. Or like, do you want to go to Bhutan and meet this guy Oliver White and fish for mahseer? I'm like, okay, sounds interesting. So it was always just like a lot of trust, and like he would like watch films and give feedback, but we worked directly with him on this Texas Playboys Sandlot baseball film, and then All That's Sacred.
Okay.
Do you remember heckling me the first time we met?
No.
I should say lightly heckling. And I'm pretty sure you were with Ben. But I think I was fishing on the Roaring Fork outside of Carbondale. And you and Ben came walking up the bank and kind of light heckled me about, I don't know, fishing a worm or an egg or something, I think.
Nice bobber,
and
bro.
I stepped out, and then it was like, oh, hey, you look familiar too. I don't know. It was like probably like 2008, 2009.
I was probably self-conscious because I was fishing a worm and an egg too.
Yeah.
Are you still fishing much these days?
Yeah, less than I used to, but I still really enjoy it when I get the windows. Layers, still trying to figure it out. But we're doing a lot of traveling for it. And we're going to Panama to do some offshore stuff in June. So hopefully I'll get to do a little fishing there.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll go to Suriname in the fall. Hopefully I'll get to fish there.
Also working on the Dahlberg project? Mm-hmm. What are you guys going to be fishing for in Suriname?
Wolffish.
Wow. Freshwater?
Mm-hmm.
Like up in like Amazon tributaries type of thing, jungle fishing? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Probably be pretty hardcore as well in terms of travel and logistics, I imagine.
Yeah, I think I went to Guyana with Oliver White 2 years ago. So
okay.
And like we
did the Arapema thing.
Yeah. So I kind of like have a taste of what's to come. I think it'll be pretty similar in Suriname.
Yeah. I guess before we go, I'm wondering if you know, like we were saying, you guys kind of, you and Ben, I think, with those early films kind of started, or at least were at the, forefront of what is a pretty rich culture of fly fishing film nowadays, for better or worse, maybe. And I just wonder if you, are you conscious of that? Do you think of that? Do you have feelings or thoughts about sort of the stuff that you see out there being done by other people? Are there filmmakers that you're really excited about when you see their stuff?
I have to say, I'm honestly not a huge consumer of media in general. And I really appreciate that our timing on it all. Like, we were very fortunate, and to like just come up where like all of a sudden you can make these films in your bedroom. And we had established ourselves, and then brands started wanting to support that. So like we were able to actually make a living because of our timing and kind of our early successes. So I just feel very grateful for our timing on it all. But I don't know if I give ourselves like a ton of credit in like the genre. Like, I think we did it well when we did it, and just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it kind of purposeful that you might not consume as much media as others in the sense that you're trying to maybe not have your own vision become like influenced by some of the other stuff that's out there? Or is it just like, I don't have time to watch like the stuff that is maybe mildly or somewhat more mildly interesting?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I go to film festivals and I like love being in that environment and watching films, and like Yeti, I usually watch like a lot of the stuff that Yeti does just because like it's all like done pretty well. But it's just not. Yeah, I mean, I have 2 kids and a lot of hobbies, and I just don't like watch a lot of stuff on my computer.
Yeah.
Besides just like endlessly scrolling on shit on my phone, and wasting my life that way.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I have the same feeling sometimes, because I think, especially if your job is doing it, and if your job is, you're sitting down for your 6 to 8 hours a day or whatever it is, maybe more, then the rest of the time you kind of
it's the last thing that you want
to engage your brain with something else, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually where I find myself going, like, if I have a choice between, a fly fishing book or a non-fly fishing book, more often than not, I'm going for non-fly fishing, because I spend all day reading fishing stories, which is fantastic. I'm not complaining, but
it's nice to have other outlets and interests. And I don't know why I don't have a ton of curiosity. Maybe I'm just worried people are doing it better. So I'm like, I just won't watch it. I won't know.
Nobody's doing it better, Travis.
I don't know. I see a lot of pretty like incredible filming these days.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to Sidechannels, presented by the Fly Fish Journal. Sidechannels is produced and edited by me and Colby Messick, with additional production support from Jeff Galbraith and Colin Wiseman, and digital and web support from Jesse Lou Galbraith and Kopi Vojta. Thanks as well to Decked and Patagonia Fly Fishing for their support. If you're enjoying Sidechannels, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review. It makes a big difference and helps others find the show. We'd appreciate it. That's it for today. Have fun out there, enjoy the process, and we'll see you in a couple weeks with the next episode.